Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. My name is Gary Zuckett. I'm Executive Director of West Virginia Citizen Action, and we're here today to ask Congress to walk in our shoes, to extend the unemployment that's going to run out at the end of the month for tens of thousands of West Virginians, millions of Americans. And we have several speakers today to talk on the subject. The first speaker I'd like to bring up to the podium is Cody Ford with the West Virginia Council of Churches.
Good afternoon. My name is Cody Ford, and I am the Executive Director ad interim of the West Virginia Council of Churches, representing 15 Christian denominations in the state of West Virginia. On behalf of the Council, I've been asked to be present at today's conference to speak to the moral implications of extending unemployment insurance. Those who promote increased and greater obstacles to extending unemployment insurance, to me, seem to be exercising what I would call a morality of accelerated social Darwinism, in which it is not enough just to promote the so-called survival of the fittest, but it also calls for the swift and deliberate elimination of those they consider to be the weak. This morality insinuates that the lapse in our economy is the fault of the unemployed, and not those with the power and resources to create employment. These same people are attempting to require mandated drug testing to receive unemployment insurance. Such a demand throws a wide blanket of suspicion and degradation over all the unemployed by promoting the stereotype that all those who receive unemployment insurance are lazy addicts leeching off the government. However, the facts have shown in states like Florida and Indiana that mandatory drug testing is outrageously unprofitable, and that 98% or more of those forced to submit to it are in fact clean and drug-free. These false moralities are not in keeping with accepted Christian social teaching, and furthermore are directly repugnant to the idea that every human person possesses inherent value and inalienable dignity. Time and time again in the Gospels, Jesus Christ calls us to care for the least among us, those in need of the basic necessities of life, those who through no personal fault find themselves without work, those who find no recourse to justice. In a recent letter to all members of the House of Representatives, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops reminded Congress that when the economy fails to create unemployment, there is a moral obligation to help protect the life and dignity of unemployed workers and their families. In the papal encyclical entitled Laborem Exercens, Pope John Paul II wrote that the obligation to provide unemployment benefits, that is to say the duty to make suitable grants indispensable for the subsistence of unemployed workers and their families, is a duty springing from the fundamental principle of the right to life and subsistence. I urge those who have the power to make law and policy to seize this opportunity to promote true justice rather than extinguish it, and to exercise their authority in defense of the human person, in defense of families that have no other recourse, and in defense of those who, for the sake of themselves and those that they love, simply seek a hand up and not a hand out. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'd say a big amen to that. And next I would like to bring up Paul Monroe, who is an unemployed electrician with the IBEW. Paul?
I'm here to support the unemployment. I've been on an extension before. I really didn't want to, but you know, you have to do what you have to do. And if I didn't have that to fall back on, I could lose my house, vehicle, anything. Then I wouldn't be able to work. But I was 45 years old before I even drawed my first unemployment. Just because I was on unemployment and am now, I'm ready to go to work. I want to work. But I'm here to support it, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Next, I'd like to call Elaine Harris with the communication workers.
Thank you. We talk about a very important subject here today, and I'd like just to address two areas. There has been the arguments made that to do a further extension if training is attached to it. Well, there are those that are seeking training that would like to have training because they have worked, for example, in a factory or a plant for many, many years, and through no fault of their own have lost their job, and they have to suddenly find themselves looking to do something different. And that is where training would apply. And I give just one example of one of our members out of the IUE-CWA that was that very person, and has now went into to go to college in a nursing program. And this individual, he has a very, very busy schedule as far as trying to achieve, at the end of the day, a degree for nursing. So he tries to juggle, he tries to work what he can work, but the schedule is so aggressive that he's just trying to get to that end so he gets the degree and can find a job. I give that as an example where training is a good idea. And then on the other hand, we have those that have been trained, that have had training, and are very willing and ready to go to work, and they find that there's not the jobs out there. What they are faced with is they continue to actively pursue to find that job. And we see some of our older workers that are unable to find employment to get them to what they would hope to be golden years. But they still need, as the previous speaker said, you know, they put a hand up, not a hand out, to get the things that they need to get them through, and then to get on to a job that all of us cherish so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elaine. That reminded me of the statistic right now that there's 4 unemployed workers for every available job right now. So this situation is not going to get better anytime real soon. And our next speaker to talk about that is Rick Wilson with the American Friends Service Committee Economic Justice Project.
Thanks, Gary. We had some good news on the job front last month, but as Gary noted, there are still just about 4 unemployed workers for every new job that opens. You could argue this from the head, or you could argue this from the heart. Franklin Roosevelt said, "Human kindness has never weakened the stamina or softened the fiber of a free people. A nation does not have to be cruel to be tough." Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Our next speaker is Dr. John David from the Southern Appalachian Labor School.
Greetings, folks. I just want to say that there are some people who are unemployed, who have never worked. All they have time to is to apparently run for political office. They make a lot of money. They're billionaires. They take money from offshore islands. They take funds from taxes that they don't pay. These are the unemployed folks that can say, hey, we don't care about poor people. We don't care about the unemployed. There's a safety net out there. Well, this program is a safety net program for those who have struggled hard, who've made this country great, who have paid into a fund to make their program viable, and they deserve to, of course, get through some difficult times. I'm an economist, and as an economics person, it's pretty clear that when you're having a recovery, as we hopefully are having right now in this country, you don't strangle those folks who, in fact, spend money. And people who are unemployed, who get benefits, will spend that money. It's a quick fix. It's an important fix. It's it's a moral fix. It's a just fix. Thank you very much.
Then thank you, John. And last but not least, I'd like to bring up Kenny Perdue, President of the West Virginia AFL-CIO.
Thank you, Gary. Good afternoon. Yesterday I participated in a press conference with Attorney General of West Virginia, Darrell McGraw, where he was able to get $33.8 million for the people of West Virginia because of the foreclosures. Part of the group that was responsible for what's happened in the state, they shut down jobs, they foreclosed on families. We cannot at this time, and I don't think at any time, put that effort on our people, the people that want to work. We've got to make sure they have jobs. And for people in Congress to stand there and say they have to be trained, they have to pass a drug test, they have to go to school. These are people that have got an education. Most of them are probably, if not all, drug-free. They just want a chance to be part of life again and be part of the state again, to be able to make sure their family is taken care of. So I challenge the senators and Congress in D.C. to make sure you do the right thing. Thank you.
And that concludes our press conference. All our speakers will be available for comments to the press, or unless there's any questions.
I mean, I've heard that we don't know where Senator Manchin is on this. Does anybody know if he said anything? Or?
The last time I spoke with Senator Manchin, he was leaning in favor of the re-education conditions, some of the conditional extensions that the House leadership were talking about. We're hoping that we can convince Senator Manchin to vote to pass a clean extension of unemployment without punitive stipulations. That's what we want to see. If there's no other questions, thank you very much. Like I said, we'll be available for individual interviews.